Hello, and welcome to the Hudson Valley Knits podcast. Surprise, I'm back. I don't know if it's going to be permanent, but I am here today with you. It is Labor Day in the United States, September 2nd. I'm obviously off today. And I decided on a whim to record a podcast for you. For those of you who may not have watched me before or haven't watched in a while, I used to live in the Hudson Valley of New York. I lived there all my life, and a lot of this podcast centered around podcasting outside there and sharing just what I loved about the area with you. But now I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I moved here for work almost a year ago. And I am adjusting, but missing terrible my home. I really do love where I'm living. It's a wonderful place. But it's not New York. And I guess a lot of people feel that way about their hometowns. So anyway, I also just recorded almost an hour-long video for you guys showing all the stuff I've made over the months since I've last podcast, some of the things you saw at that time as a whip, and some things you never saw at all as a whip. I talked about some things I've been going through in my life since we last talked. I cried a bit because I had to tell you about Sandy. And I don't think I'm going to cry again. But one of the reasons I decided to do a recording is I'm going to be going to Rhinebeck. Mark and I are going to drive there from here. It's a 2-day drive. And I'm going to stay at my sister's house in Cold Spring, New York. And I just want to let you all know that I'll be there. And if you see me, I would love a hug because I've had a really sad year. I lost my best friend, Sandy, in June. Thought I could get through this without crying, but I guess not. I lost Sandy in June. I think I had mentioned that I was going to go home back to New York in June and visit everyone. And we did. We flew back, and 2 days before I got there, Sandy passed away from her cancer. It was just too much for her, and the chemo was not working. And so it's been really rough. I lost my best friend this year, my knitting buddy. If you go back to some of my old videos, she's been on quite a few of them. We've been on quite a few knitting adventures together. And I miss her so much, and I will be missing her a lot at Rhinebeck, and I'll take all the hugs. The good news about Rhinebeck is that my daughter will be there. My daughter Rachel's flying to New York from where she lives in Salt Lake City, and she's coming in for the Sheep and Wool Festival, and then the week after, she and I are both going to be going upstate to my mom's and spending time with my mom in upstate New York, and we're going to be doing some hiking in New York, and I wanted to put this out there. If anybody would be interested, the Friday before Rhinebeck and going on a nice hike, you would have to travel down to around Cold Spring, which is around the Bear Mountain Bridge. That's where I am really, really familiar with the trails. There's 2 trails I would consider. One is across on the west side of the river, across the Bear Mountain Bridge, and it's It's actually, we'd be on a part of the Appalachian Trail, but it's around Silver Mine Lake in Harriman State Park, and you can Google that. And then there's another trail that I love that I will absolutely have to do that has a beautiful, both of these I picked because of the beautiful views. Um, the other one is up Anthony's Nose, which is on the east side of the Hudson River, right at the base of the bridge. It's the mountain that is right at the east side of the Bear Mountain Bridge. And I've been doing that hike since I was a little girl. I know it like the back of my hand. And I'd be willing to be a guide if anybody wants to do some hiking the day before. I apologize. I have done trails further north, up closer to where Rhinebeck is, but I just don't know them as well as I know the ones down further south by the Bear Mountain Bridge. So I can't. I wouldn't feel comfortable being a guide, and if we got lost, I would feel responsible. And again, it's something I might do if it were with people I knew, but I can't take that chance if people are trusting me to guide them. But anyway, getting off on a tangent. If you're interested in doing that, let me know, and I will put in for the day off the Friday before, taking the whole week after off. But I would definitely take the Friday off and meet someone or a group of people at either of those spots, and you can get some breathtaking views of the Hudson Valley during peak season. It's something you should really try and do if you can. So yeah, reach out to me if you are interested. I would definitely do it, and maybe I'll just do it anyway with my daughter. And if anyone wants to come, you are so welcome to join us. I would delight in sharing that area with you. So anyway, yeah. So there's been a number of reasons I haven't been podcasting, and I think I'm just kind of off. It's the podcast. I keep saying the podcast. I don't go on iTunes, so it's not really a podcast. But the video blog was also created out of a love and an intense passion for the Hudson Valley that I wanted to share. And that I can't do anymore from here. I only have my knitting to share, and I just felt like there were so many podcasts coming out that honestly were so much better than mine that I just didn't feel like it was, I felt like I either had to increase the bar of quality in my podcasts, or I had to not bother. Because honestly, I don't get a lot of views. Oh, hold on, somebody's at my... All right, so I'm back. That was actually my husband and his friend were at the front door. I guess he was afraid I might have had the latch on. But
he definitely was afraid.
He's making me dinner. I'm in my family room now. I decided to come downstairs because the light upstairs was not good anymore. And it's wine time. It's 6 o'clock. And I apologize. I have a light on me so that you can see all the beautiful colors and stuff that I'm about to show, but you can see the light reflected in my eyes. I look like a Martian. But if I take off my glasses, I can't see you. I can't see what you're seeing, and I won't know if you're getting a good shot of whatever I'm showing you. So I decided, you know what? I hope you're laughing your ass off at me, because I'm just going to leave that up there like that. Occasionally I'll give you my good side. Anyway, thanks for coming back and watching me. I forget what I said in the intro upstairs in my office, but I just want to say that I don't know if I'm going to resume podcasting on a regular basis, but I do enjoy sharing about what I'm knitting and what I'm working on. I love creating things, and you know, I just remembered that that's why I started doing this in the first place. I didn't really need a successful podcast. That wasn't my goal. And my goal was just to share what I was knitting with whoever might happen to be reading my blog. And I think it was like 2008 or so that I started blogging on WordPress. And yeah, I just was too lazy to type. So I said, oh, I wish I could record. And my husband said, oh, there's this thing called YouTube and you can just put a link to your video and blah, blah, blah. And that's what I did. So that's what I'm going to do now. When I feel the need to share or the desire to share, I will. Yeah, no more New York Hudson Valley, although there will be visits there. And when I do visit there, I will make sure I podcast there or record something there. I definitely will when we go in October, because I'll be doing some hiking with my daughter, and like I'm sure I said in the little opening video, is that I'd be very happy to hike with other people who are traveling into New York and might not know the area. My husband's looking at me. He's so cute. I love him so much. But I will be taking the whole week off following Rhinebeck, and I'll be down in the Hudson Valley, and I'll also be upstate at my parents', and there'll be lots of video footage. And I think what I'll do is I'll just take little clips here and there when I have something to show, and I won't worry about like accumulating things for an episode and having a nice long podcast. I'll just do almost like vlogging, like little things, I think, here and there. So, without further ado, I did look at the last video I put up on YouTube to see kind of what you have seen and what you haven't seen, and so I brought all the things I finished from that, and I also brought other things that you'd never even seen as a whip that I've made since then, which I think then was, February, and stuff I'm working on now. And so one of the things I showed you in the last podcast, I laugh at, I could see my glasses, and I just look like such a dork when I look at you like this or like this. But one of the things I showed you in the last video was I wanted to do the Romy Hill, or Rosemary Hill, I think she goes by Romy. She does a mystery shawl knit along every year, and I decided to do it this year. I've done a couple of them. I always buy them, but I haven't knit all of them, and this last one makes me want to knit all the ones I've missed, because her designs are just so lovely. And I love the yarns I picked, are just perfect. I love pinks, are my favorite colors, and I just feel so good wearing them. So let me show you the Rumi 2019 Mystery Shawl. And you gotta peek at the yarns, but here they are knit up. Isn't it beautiful? She is so amazing. She is just an amazing designer. I love like the little details with the colors where she kind of mixes them in. I believe those were slip stitch patterns, and the border is just gorgeous. This was a lot of work to block out, I have to say. And then the half circle section, oh, the light is so much better down here. You can see it has some beautiful lace patterns. Mark says he's sorry. He's just, you don't need to be sorry, honey. He's making me dinner, and there's nothing to be sorry about, right, guys? Do you guys have a husband that cooks dinner for you every night? I do. I'm sorry. What's that mean? This is a new favorite shawl. It's a beautiful accessory. I haven't worn it much because the weather's been warmer. But this will be getting a lot of use. I'll be wearing this. And you know what? Now that I have a big house, because you know, in New York, I couldn't afford a big house in New York because houses are so expensive in New York and taxes, forget about it. But here I am able to afford a gorgeous, beautiful, it really is a beautiful home. We love our home. I don't like the wall colors. You can see the olive green, but I can live with them for now. Part of me says, Amy, you should paint yourself. But part of me says, are you crazy? These 12-foot high ceilings and all this crown molding. But it's a lot of money to pay someone to do it. And like, it's a huge investment, and it's like $10,000 to $15,000. I haven't had a quote yet, but I've talked to other people that have, and I can't believe how much it would cost to pay someone to paint the house. But anyway, I think I feel like I need to do that because the color scheme is just not me. But anyway, this color scheme is. But I wouldn't do pink. I don't know. Anyway, so this is the first thing. Another shawl I worked on, which I was in progress, is a Girl's Best Friend shawl by Isabel Kramer. And you know, you'll have to forgive me. Actually, I have my iPad down here so I can look stuff up if I can't remember things. But this is made with oval fingering. I was knitting on this during the last podcast. This is a very popular shawl. A lot of people have knit this. I love these colors, but together they just don't, they aren't me. This is going, so kind of rewind a bit. My family, my sisters, my parents, my daughter, and my aunt and uncle who live in North Carolina, and actually, and it's not easy for them to travel, so this was like a big deal. And next year, to be honest, they might not be able to travel at all because they're in their 80s and their health is not that great. So I was so honored that they took the effort to come here and visit me in my new home. They all came in April. My parents are around the same age as my aunt and uncle, but they are in better shape right now in their 80s. Anyway, it was still a bit nippy here in April, and my sister picked this shawl out to kind of wrap around herself while she was here, so I decided I'm going to give her this for Christmas. It's not the colors that I would wear, and she loved it. So I'm going to give this to her, her being my sister Lisa. My sister Kim loves autumn colors, and I've been working on that rose gold shawl, and I'm kind of torn right now between finishing that by Christmas. It's kind of iffy. I think what I might do is when I finish some of the whips I'm working on now, maybe when I finish that sweater I'm working on now, I'll pull out that rose gold and I'll make it like a priority and my main knitting project, so I can give that to Kim for Christmas because I know she loves it. But if I don't do that, I will definitely, I will gift her, hold on, I'm going to my Ravelries because I can't remember the name off the top of my head, Andrea Mowry range shawl that I actually bought the yarn from Lisa Souza at Rhinebeck. And, oh, sorry. These are the colors that my sister Kim loves. And it would be a very nice gift for her. You can see the light ring. I'm sorry, yeah, there's no way to kind of show you this. It's upstairs. I can throw in a picture here, but this shawl I knit with Lisa Souza yarn that I got at Rhinebeck last year. It is worsted weight, yeah, wool. And the colors were Sedona, Forbidden City, Deep Fall, and Cameroon. My sister Kim would love that, but the problem is I love it too. And I'm a little selfish, so I think I might keep it, and I'll just get that rose gold shawl out and just bang it out for, and maybe even by Rhinebeck time, especially because we're driving there, I can do some knitting in the car and get this done for her and gift her that. Is I would like to be ready by October when I know I'm going home, and I can give the gifts to my sisters with the caveat that they not open them until Christmas, right? Yeah, but this will definitely go to Lisa, and my sisters don't watch my podcast, so this is fine. So this is, yeah, I really enjoyed the pattern. It was very time consuming, these little sections, the yellow sections here, which is kind of like a lacy section, because you increase and decrease stitches. So some rows had a lot of stitches on them, I have to say. It was time consuming, but it's such a beautiful pattern that it was worth it. It's about the process for me now. It's not about what I can bang out. So another thing I was working on during the last time I recorded that has, of course, been finished is a pair of socks for my husband, Mark, who every year when we go to Rhinebeck, except last year we didn't because I was behind, but he picks out a skein of socks that rock for me to make a pair of socks for him. The medium weight is perfect for Mark's feet. His shoe size is like a US size 11, but his feet are circumference-wise big. He's just a big boned, barrel-chested kind of Viking stock. He's a big guy. His calves are big, his hands are huge, his fingers are huge. Perspective. And granted, he is kind of heavy, but his ring finger is a size 15. His wedding band, we had to have it custom made because most men don't have fingers that big. And it's not because he's fat, it's because he has huge fingers. They're huge. And his feet are no different. So one of the reasons I use the Socks That Rock medium weight is because it knits up quick, but the other reason is because it is I've made him socks with other yarns, and his feet just wear right through them because they're big, and he has, some people have dry feet, and that kind of wears against them. But the other reason is he wears them all the time. He really loves the knitted socks that I make him. And the Socks That Rock yarn, which is really, has no nylon in it, it's just merino wool. It's the twist that makes it so durable. These do not wear out for him as quickly as other sock yarns. I think I've used Knit Picks for him, and trying to remember what the other sock yarn. It was a merino nylon blend, and it was a rather thin fingering weight, and it just within a year it was shot. It was shot. The only one that I haven't tried for him that would probably work, which is, it's luxurious, but it's also a workhorse yarn, is Spirit Trail Fiberworks Senna, which is a merino cashmere silk blend. No nylon. It's the silk that makes it extremely durable. I have socks made with that I've been wearing for years, and they are not even close to being worn through. It's a great sock yarn. Sadly, she is not dyeing yarn anymore. But let me show, I haven't shown you the socks close up. So these are the socks I was working on for Mark. I finished them both, obviously. He hasn't worn them yet because it's been summer. I think he called this a peacock heel. So it's where you knit one, slip one, and you alternate where you slip, so it's kind of like a checkerboard, and it's just because I like the way it looks. This is a broken rib stitch. I knit a cowl with it last year. The piece cowl. Every year there's a piece, at the end of the year there's a piece pattern by, I'll look it up, hold on. Project Piece 2018 by Christina Campbell. It's, if I remember correctly, I think it's, or it used to be, or it starts out free, but I'm not sure, but it's like $5. And her last one for 2018 was beautiful, and I love the stitch pattern, and it makes a great sock pattern, especially for someone who has gigantic ankle size and calves. So my husband has humongous calves. They're like, and they're rock hard, they're solid. So this is a great pattern for him because it has so much stretch, and it just, he says it feels nice and squishy under his feet, and they don't wear out. Yeah, so these were Mark's. It's Socks That Rock, and the colorway we got at Rhinebeck almost every year, not every year, because last year I told him not to because I still had a few skeins that I hadn't knit up for him yet from other Sheep and Wool Festival events. But usually at the Sheep and Wool Festival, Mark goes over to the, I forget the name of the booth that sells the Socks That Rocks, but one of the vendors there sells Socks That Rock. And he picks out a color for himself for me to knit him a pair of socks in. And this particular color is County Clare. And Mark's half Irish. I'm sure that's partly why he picked it, but mostly he picks them if he likes the colors. He loves color, period, but I guess he loved this one a lot. So that's the other finished object. And then the next one is the next two are ones that I don't believe you saw at all. This one is the Color Craze shawl by Tammy Gore. I love this shawl, so I'm taking this one off. It's not too hot. I have central air too. This is the first time I've ever had a house with central air, ever in my whole entire life. What I'm getting at is this Color Craze shawl. I was watching Molly's podcast from a homespun house, and she made, these are her yarns. I like Molly's yarns. Some of them are too, I guess, colorful for me. I like neutrals, and she does a lot of bright speckly stuff. I like it, but you know, this, when I saw it on her podcast, she made it for herself. It is her petals gradient, or not a gradient set, but it's her mini set, and the colors were called petals, plus a few other colors from my stash of scrap yarn. And the other was, I don't remember the name, but this neutral color that you see, actually you can see it better here at the bottom. That is also one of her speckle colorways. And it was held double with her silk. Oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart here. Her silk, a cashmere blend. What the heck? Kid Silk Haze. Kind of like the Kid Silk Haze. I can't remember. I'm so retarded. Hold on. Anyway. I held it double. It is so soft, so squishy, so warm, that I use it all the time. And you'll say, what? It's summer? Well, the thing is, my office building with the AC is freezing cold. I shiver at work. I sit at my desk and I shiver. I have a sweater that I leave at work. Sorry, I'm laughing at my eyeglasses again. I have a sweater that I leave at work, but I also often wear this as well wrapped around me because I'm so flipping cold at work. But anyway, mohair silk blend in her Fresh Sheets colorway. So anyway, this is another one of the finished objects. And the last one is, finished object that is a sweater I knit for a baby. One of my coworkers, this is her second baby. I knit the antler cardigan for her first baby. But she's due in November and I knit this for her. It is the Provence Leafy Cardigan by Susan Mills. And I used stash yarn. I used Dreaming Color Everlasting DK. She picked the pattern and the color. So her first baby, I knit her a surprise. I picked it. I knew she liked the color green, so I chose like an appley green color. And she didn't know the sex of her first child, so I picked green because it was kind of gender neutral. But she picked both the pattern and like we went online, I was here in New York back in June. We went online and I showed her some patterns I had in my library. She picked this, and then I showed her some yarn I had in my stash and she picked this. And I will give this to her when I go home in October. Her baby's due in November. It's a newborn size, and being it's a cold month in New York, it would be perfect for her. I just have to get some buttons. I don't have buttons for it yet. I have a button stash. I'm trying to remember if I unpacked it, and if I did unpack it, where the hell did I put it? I don't know. But I might not have buttons small enough for this because I did a knit two together yarn over for these buttonholes, which is really small. So we're talking little baby buttons. So anyway, that's all the finished objects. Let me show you what I'm working on. So let me show you some of my whips. I'll save the big one for last. I have my Rhinebeck sweaters. I always knit them early in the year to make sure I have the time I need to make them as nice as possible. So I have the Rachel's Yoke cardigan, and the other one is an Isabel Kramer. I was hoping to do a short sleeve sweater as well in case it's warm during Rhinebeck, but I did not get around to it. But the other sweater I was going to bring is a Malin sweater by Isabel Kramer that I also finished this year. But if it is an unseasonably warm Rhinebeck during the sheep and wool, I'll just wear one of these beautiful shawls that I've completed. Maybe even one I'm about to show you that is currently a whip. Okay, so the sweater I'm working on is not really a Rhinebeck sweater is what I'm getting at. It's actually one that I wouldn't even consider being a Rhinebeck sweater, but I'll talk about that later. First, let me show you something that I talked about is that my mom had asked for a pair of socks. I had already started Mark's socks, so I did not drop that and cast on hers. Again, the more relaxed attitude, because I'm not worried about the podcast is really shining through here. I just said, you know what? I'll finish Mark's and I'll have plenty of time to finish Mom's before Christmas. or before the winter, October, which is when I'll give them to her, so she can get the most use out of them. But my mom asked for a new pair of winter socks because the ones that she has from me are starting to wear out, and she said that she would prefer something longer or that goes higher up her calf, and that's a little more stretchy. So she said like they're not stretchy at the top, and she said she has a hard time getting them over her heel. So I'm thinking definitely a rib pattern. I went through my Ravelry pattern library to see if I found something, but she even said something to the effect of, nothing fancy, I just want a pair of socks. So I don't need to be fancy with my mom. She's a practical person, and I think for her I want wool socks that will last, that fit me right, that are made by my daughter because she treasures anything I make her. So what I did is I picked out some of my favorite yarn from my stash. It's a luxury because it's from my Spiritual Fiberwork stash. It's Sunna, which is almost, well, I think this was $35 when I bought it, or maybe $34, I don't know. But it's a luxury yarn. This color is called Deep Ocean. I know my mom likes blues. So here's the thing, these will be soft, so they'll feel really nice on her skin. They're durable, they'll last forever, because she's still at 82. She's born in 38, so she's 81. Still getting around, and she does a lot. She's pretty active for her age. And they'll fit her right. So I'm going to make them longer so they go higher up her calf. And so I've started in a US 1, but I will go down to a US 0 when I get closer to her ankle. And I can use my own foot as a measurement because our feet and our ankles and our calves are almost exactly the same. She's a little more petite than me, but I'm a good gauge using my own foot and leg as a model for her. So here's what I picked. I went through trying to remember what book I found the stitch pattern in, and I don't remember. I looked through a few of my stitch pattern books for a ribbed pattern. I wanted it to be a rib pattern so that she had the flexibility to get it on her foot. But I didn't want just 2x2 ribbing or something like that. I wanted just something a little interesting, so I found this little pattern here. I didn't feel like doing the broken rib pattern that I did for Marks again either. Plus I didn't want it to be too thick so that her foot didn't fit in her shoes that she likes to slip on. So this is basically, it's a rib pattern. You have purl twos, and in between the purl twos you have one round is knit 3, and then round after that is knit purl knit. So it gives you kind of like this garter column here, but you still have the ribby stretchiness, and then you have these 2 columns of just knit stitches. Let me show you. So it's not a pattern, but I got it from a stitch dictionary. But here's I made myself a little chart. Here's the chart. It's a 5-stitch repeat. So I start the round with the purl, and then I knit 3. And after that first purl, it's knit 3, purl 2, knit 3, all the way around, ending with just 1 purl, like at the end. And then the next round is purl, knit, and then it's purl, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, purl, knit, purl, knit. So I have to get a rhythm, and that's how I do it. But these are mom's socks. I cast on 60. At first I cast on, sorry I dropped it. I cast on like 66 66 because I'm thinking that's what I usually cast on for myself, 66 to 68 stitches, but this is a thicker yarn. I had to take that out. It was way too big. I ripped it out and I started over with 60. What's the smallest I've cast on with ever, even with sun up? But I think it's because it's stretchy. This goes over my foot really well, and it goes all the way up to the middle of my calf where it's the thickest. So this will be fine for her. And I think I'm going to go another inch before I go down to the smaller needle size for her ankle. So we'll see how these turn out. I'm sure I can finish these in the car ride to New York if I have to, but I'm very confident that I will be done with these by the time I go home in October and be able to give them to Mama for Christmas. I love making things for my mom because she appreciates them so much. All my family really does appreciate anything I knit for them. So that's one whip. The next whip, I'm going to save the sweater for last. So the next whip is a mystery cow. It is the by Tammy Gore, her Autumn Mystery Cow. Hint of Autumn Mystery Cow is the official name. And I am just starting clue 2. So if you don't want to see it, close your eyes. I'm going to show it now. I am just starting clue 2. So this isn't, oh, you don't have the right side. Here's the right side. So it starts like this. I have this beautiful gold and purple, and they're supposed to be autumn colors. And what makes this even more special are these are yarns I got last year at Rhinebeck, and they're very much autumn colors. The third color is this. Now, I'm holding this close because I don't want it to get drowned out, but it's a beautiful coral color. Not usually one of my colors, but these go really well together. And the pattern called for 4 colors, but she said you could definitely use 3, so that's what I'm doing because these just seem like the right ones to use. And so I'm hoping I finish this for Rhinebeck. And if I do, I will finish this and I will devote myself, after this is done and after that sweater is done that I'm working on, I will devote myself to the shawl for my sister Kim's Christmas present, which is upstairs. I haven't worked on it in months, but it's Rose Gold by Andrea Mowry. And the final whip is, and I bet you, I would probably not be having a shawl, 3 whips at one time normally this year. I've been like no more than 2, but I wanted to participate in this mystery shawl. I just wanted to really bad. Normally otherwise I would probably just be doing these socks and this sweater that I'm almost done with. So this sweater is made by Spirit Trail Fiberworks yarn. This is Aurora, I think. I bought it when she moved from Virginia to New Mexico. She had a huge 40% off sale, and I got this sweater's quantity worth of fingering weight yarn. It's a one-of-a-kind color, and it's 100% merino. And then I decided, like everybody was knitting sweaters with that mohair silk blend and holding it together with another yarn. And I had just finished that shawl by Tammy Gore, the Color Craze, with a fingering weight and a mohair silk blend, and I loved the way it felt, so I decided to knit a sweater the same way. So I asked Jennifer of Spirit Trail Fiberworks if she would knit up custom dye a mohair silk blend for me. I sent her back one of the skeins and I said I want it to pop. She asked me, do you want variegated or solid? I told her, you pick. this is what she came up with. And I don't know if you can see all the greens in there, but you'll see it more when I hold up the sweater. This was like, not every year, but pretty much every year, I treat myself to a sweater's quantity with a very luxurious yarn, like that is not practical to make all of your sweaters out of, but once in a while I treat myself to a really luxurious sweater. The last time I did this, I bought her Beert yarn, which is a cashmere merino blend, in her black cherry colorway, and I don't know if I wore that to Rhinebeck. That might be a good Rhinebeck sweater. But anyway, this is, I mean, just the mohair silk alone was almost $200. So it's not something that anyone can afford, and it's definitely a luxury, but you can, if you want to do something like this. Knit picks. Their mohair silk that I've bought before is very comparable to the quality of others. And if you can't afford that kind of sweater, try Knit Picks. Very affordable and really, really nice. So anyway, here's the sweater. It's Icy Spring by Joji Locatelli. And it's those two yarns held together. And you can see that it's variegated, and you can see the different pops of color against the background. It's super soft. It's definitely got a lot of positive ease. One challenge with this was my row gauge is very tight, and my stitches tend to be almost square. So I had to knit a lot more rounds to get the depth, and because of that, my sleeves had a lot more stitches on them. I had to pick up more stitches for my sleeves because I had to knit more rounds or rows to get the right-sized armhole opening. So I had to decrease at a quicker rate, but yeah, I mean, I'm on the second sleeve. I'm almost done. I might bring this to New York just to wear to the office in October, but I doubt it because it's with the mohair silk and the marine. It's so warm in this. This is for really cold days. So even like in the winter, see the problem I found over the last year living here is you get a winter, and you know, it's usually it can be in the 30s or 40s usually, which is cold enough for a sweater for sure. But when I get to work in the winter, they have the heat so high you're sweating, and in the summer they have the AC so cold you're freezing. So in the winter, if I wear a sweater, I have to take it off as soon as I get to the office. And in the summer, I'll leave the house wearing a t-shirt, and because I have casual attire at my company, we're allowed to wear jeans and t-shirts to work. That's the way to go. If you manage an office and you have that option, let your people come to work comfortable. Unless they deal with clients, who cares? You'll get a much more productive staff if you let them come to work wearing comfortable clothes. So anyway, yeah, I don't know how much wear I'll get out of. I didn't wear my sweaters much last year. It was just too hot in the office. I always had to take them off when I got there. It was very disappointing. It's not wintry enough here. I can't stay here forever. So that's all my stuff. That's all I have to show you. I don't know when I'll podcast again. I can make no commitments, but maybe I think I'll start doing it again. Anyway, I thank you for coming back. I thank you for sticking with me, and I'll see you again soon. If not on the internet, I'll see you in Rhinebeck.
Okay? All right, ciao. Bye.
There was a
Yes.
really
Like a
big
safe-
reason why we all tried so hard to make this work.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna cry. We were busting our palms because we wanted to make something special for our new friends. So, to show how much we love you. Well, you open it out, I'll open it.
Oh my goodness.